Kazi kwako.
Very good morning, and thank you so much, Paul Kagi, for the general analysis of what is happening and what is taking place in the country across this particular 1 week. And of course, as we've promised you during this Leadership Wednesday show, we have a guest, a governance analyst, and also a political analyst to help us look at some of the weighty issues that have also been making headlines and Kenyans have been talking about. We want to find out how far are we with the measures that have been put into place to ensure that at least we have solutions. We're talking about the doctor strike. We are talking about the wage bill. And of course, there has also been talk that the economy has actually gotten a turnaround. Now, things are really looking as we are being told on the ground, or what is Mwananchi feeling. We are going to have these particular issues being put into the limelight in today's Leadership Wednesday show. And karibu sana, we have a guest, and that is Engineer Crispus Wadhimba. He's a governance analyst and also a political analyst on set today to help us get into the weight and into the heart and soul of today's discussion. And of course, continue giving us your reflections on 23814. What do you think? What is your opinion? What is your take maybe on some of these very, very major issues that have actually been making headlines across this particular 1 week and in the recent days? Karibu sana, Engineer Crispus Wadhimba, our guest for this particular show for today.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting me.
Asante sana, karibu. Looking forward to this conversation with you. You can also catch us live. We are live on our Facebook and YouTube pages. On Facebook, that is MBCI TV, and also on YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. And of course, we'll be able to appreciate one or two comments that we'll be able to drop in. Now, Engineer, karibu sana, and of course, quite a number of things and quite a number of issues taking place, taking center stage in the country. The doctor strike, this is arguably one of the longest strike that we have witnessed in the country now, getting to 1 month. Did you anticipate this?
Well, I actually didn't see this coming, given that the age of the CBA had actually, many Kenyans had forgotten there was a CBA that was signed off for in 2017. I'm sure very many Kenyans cannot even remember that we had a strike for over 90 days in the 2017 before the elections that led to this CBA. So I'm sure in the memories of many Kenyans, this was not something that they were concerned about. So when the issue of the CBA came up, even the details of the CBA were not very clear. But as the strike has continued to catch up, people have now come to understand that there was a CBA, and these were the issues that were agreed, that CBA and this has not been fulfilled. Unfortunately, all this boils down to one thing: money, which is another conversation we are having as a country.
Right.
Are we living within our means? Are we spending more than we can be able to generate? Which is truly unfortunate that as a country, 10 years or 12 years since Kibaki left power, where we had come to a tradition of spending what we can afford and avoiding as much as possible having a culture of borrowing to spend on a recurrent expenditure.
Sure. Because
that's something Kibaki had really done away with. And over the last 10 years, we have seen that growing, and even our debt burden growing. And unfortunately, we are here where the burden is so heavy that if we continue with that trend, this country will collapse economically. And it's important that the leaders who are there today make important decisions that will safeguard the future of this country.
Sure.
Unfortunately, some of those decisions will be very painful, will inconvenience others, but I think they are not something we cannot live by. I want to remind many Kenyans that the doctors are not the only professions in this country. We have media professionals, we have engineers, we have lawyers, we have urban planners, we have quantity surveyors, we have so many professions. And there was a time where government would hire all of them and assure them of a stipend. But today, reality, I think the only profession that is guaranteed that opportunity are the medics. But their expectations are far higher than probably what even me as if I was a owner of a private hospital would not be able to afford. So we must come to the reality that just like those other professions were removed from that guaranteed opportunity to work in government, they must also come to appreciate that also that big stipend that they were used to might also have to come down, because these are young professionals who are just getting into the profession. They are being given a stipend as they learn, because they are still they are still in training. And once they get into the training, it is a responsibility for a job opportunity, for employment opportunity. But making it the burden of taxpayers to pay them such a very huge amount of stipend at the expense of other services that governments provide for Kenyans, it is quite unfortunate. The other issue also we need to appreciate is that the doctors have also not been the best in terms of the reputation. If you go to many hospitals, we are always being told doctor is not available or there is no medicine. But go to the chemist outside or go to the clinic there. Then you find the same doctor that you were supposed to see visit in the public hospital. He's the one owning that clinic. He's the one owning that pharmacy. Then you wonder, you are being paid a salary by my taxes in a public hospital, but I'm here, I'm finding you in a private clinic, and I still have to pay you. So you find Kenyans are not getting a good deal for their taxes, because if I pay my taxes, which the president is insisting we need to even contribute more into our tax kitty, then I should be assured that if I go to a hospital, I should find a complete solution where I get a consultation, where I get my medicine, where I get equipment and everything that can be able to provide me with a complete service or medical service. But I don't want to go where I just find a doctor who then refers me to a clinic outside, and that clinic still belongs to him or his friends. It's quite unfortunate. So we must accept that the way things are is not okay, and we cannot continue.
We cannot continue that.
Unfortunately, everybody is standing on their ground, on their position. Nobody wants to come and find a mediating middle ground on this matter. Unfortunately, also the church is not being very strong, or the media is also not being very neutral in this matter. You find everybody is taking a side. He's saying, listen to the medics. Yes. Nobody is saying listen to the government. Nobody is saying listen to the taxpayer. Yes. You understand? Because the government is a taxpayer. Okay. You understand? Yeah. Everybody says listen to the medics. There are no hospitals are closed. So the position of the medics gets stronger. But this other voice of the government and the county government, nobody is talking for them. But to be very honest, those in charge with the responsibility of leading this government are quite aware that there is not enough money to pay these people.
And engineer, that is quite interesting, because what you're saying is actually what the president is on record is actually telling the country, and particularly even the doctors. We must learn to live within our means. Whatever you are asking for, we are not in a position
to give it.
At the moment. But it's like there are very many Kenyans, very many people, including the doctors, who are not really trusting the president's word. Is there something that maybe is making people not to believe that?
You know, one thing, and I've always told you in this show, people believe the government is some animal out there with tons and tons of money that can solve all the problems. But the truth of the matter, the government is me and you. The government is made by our contribution, our GDP. You understand? Our tax collection, our economic activities, our public service is what makes government. So if you don't do your part, the other part of the government will fail. So if you are not able to generate enough, then this whole thing you call government may not be able to pay doctors. You understand? May not be able to pay other government services, may not be able to pay all the professionals in the government the best. You understand?
Yeah.
So we must strike a balance. Why are we not able to generate enough? Because we are using a lot of our money to pay salaries. Yeah. So we are spending less in economic, in activities that generate income to the country. So we need to reduce spending so much money on recurrent expenditure so that we increase how much we invest in areas that where they have a huge economic output that will help us in future guarantee that we have enough for the country in future, and be able to guarantee that every livelihood in this country is able to enjoy the bare minimum good living standards, which is unfortunate today. Some people are enjoying a very high standard. If an intern is getting 200,000 for as a stipend, that's a very huge standard compared to a lawyer or an engineer who does not even get a stipend to get the proper training to qualify as a professional. So you see that disparity. There is somebody who's working so hard to get that license on their own without being given a stipend. But there's another one who is being given the salary higher than that of a CEC in a county to just get that license. So you see that disparity is not fair.
Sure.
Yes.
And engineer, so what do you think, because one of the things the doctors have been saying is about the CBA that was agreed upon, that was arrived at the 2017. And unfortunately, it's like maybe the leaders then did this maybe under duress because of the impending elections. Now, how do we convince such a group that, because to them it's like, this is what we came to the table and this is what we arrived at. How do you just now come and tell us, no, during that time maybe it was all about the pressures about election?
You know, the leaders are chosen to lead, and some of the things they need to do as leaders is take bold and popular and courageous decisions. So if somebody down the line failed to do that because they wanted to win an election, it's quite unfortunate that they tied that responsibility to future governments. But it doesn't mean we cannot correct any wrongs that were done or any mistakes that were done, or any obligations we tied ourselves into that we cannot be able to deliver. Because even if you say we have a CBA, let's say all sectors of government had a CBA.
Bring their CBAs.
Yes, they bring their CBAs. Then it turns out that if we apply all these CBAs, the ratio on the wage bill is not going to be 47, it will be 77 or 87. Will there be a government to continue? Then you will sit there and the people will say, if I continue paying my taxes and I don't see the value from these taxes, then I'll stop paying those taxes. Or if I continue paying taxes and the roads, the water, the electricity, the other public services that I need to enjoy so that I continue contributing will come to a stall, and then the functions of the government will come to a stall, and nobody will get a salary and the economy will collapse. So we need to make a decision that, yes, do I need to make a sacrifice as a citizen for the greater good of the country?
Sure.
And that's what the doctors maybe want to be told, that it is this sacrifice not just for you only. It has to be cut across, that even other sectors of the government need to make that sacrifice. Maybe that's when they will be convinced that it's not just them who are being told to take a cut.
So what do you think, engineer? Because unfortunately, this grandstanding, do you feel maybe the government has not done enough, or maybe the manner in which it has approached this particular matter, even though maybe, yes, they are it is true, and they have every right to say that this is how the situation is, but what is it that maybe it has not done right? Maybe even the cabinet secretary is involved to ensure that at least we reach at an amicable solution.
And unfortunately, I'll say this, that this government has not demonstrated its ability to be diplomatic in whatever it wants to do. From the housing levy, from the affordable health care shift, in everything this government is doing, there is a lot of bullying, there is a lot of, we are doing this, this is the only way, there is no other way. Unfortunately, we need to learn from previous leaders who are very soft-spoken, who are very used very few words, but they were able to deliver grand achievements in terms of economic transformation. So we need to tone down, because power is temporary. You're only there for some time. And the same way you took that power from somebody else, it can also be taken from you. And even if you stay there to the full length of your term will still come to an end.
What do you think they should have done? Is it calling these doctors on table, making them understand the situation? Is it making other promises? Okay, of course there have been meetings, but then they have not borne any fruits. So this time round, what do you think therefore needs to be done, at least to make the medics?
I think one thing is very clear. It's the government has said its position is not able to pay. You understand? But the other thing the doctors are insisting is, if you saying you can't pay us, why are you able to pay other things? So the government needs to come out and clearly show that we are not only able to pay you, we are also not able to pay other things, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not just about you alone. Okay? And whatever we are collecting is not enough for all this. So it is the responsibility of the government to explain itself with clarity. And it has failed to do that.
And it has failed to do that. And of course, there have been threats, there have been intimidations. Some of the county governments have actually threatened that those who are on a strike are going to be dismissed. Is it a viable solution?
You know, the counties, the way they are behaving, it's like this is not their problem. It's like this problem belongs to another animal called the national government. And even when they come to talk, it's when they meet as a COG, they make press statements, but you don't feel like they have owned this problem. You understand? Because I was hoping I would see doctors governors being in their hospitals within the counties, trying to find mitigation measures. Okay? In view of this crisis, this is what we are doing. Okay? With this press conference being held in the hospital, so that when the minister says we are having some of the level something hospitals, operations are back into maybe 50% capacity, then we can see. But then they are only coming here in Nairobi and making statements, but we can't see them on the ground where the common man is suffering because of this crisis. So they have not owned this problem, in my opinion. The only person who seems to have owned this problem is the minister, because she's the one who's being targeted. You understand? But everybody else is kind of, that problem does not belong.
And unfortunately, it's wrong, because it is not a one man.
It is a government. You understand? And this government is run through agencies and several other levels of government, and they must work together. And at the end of the day, we have one kitty which is called the tax that we collect, and it can only do so much. You understand? And where there are areas of concern in terms of how we spend, then we need to come out clearly and explain our position. For example, the controller of budget should be able to help government in articulating this true position, that we are not able to spend this kind of money on interns or on the CBA. She needs to be able to really communicate clearly. Why is it that this government cannot afford? Where is the challenge? You understand? That's not the responsibility of the Minister of Health. It is the responsibility of the controller, because that is her responsibility, to control budgets. To say, yes, true, this government cannot be able to do this because of the following. Yes.
Wow, thank you, engineer. I know there's quite a lot to talk about that, because we still need to look at two more issues that are also very pressing, and we would like to get your perspective on them. The other day, the SRC chair, Lina Mengich, was talking about the issue of the ballooning wage bill. How did we arrive at this, engineer, even at a time when we know we still have more and more Kenyans who are still in need of opportunities in the government?
You know, we were hungry for constitutional change back in early 90s, late 90s. We really wanted to change how government runs. And unfortunately, the makers of this constitution created room where everybody wants to be part of government. We create this perception that the best place to be
is in the government.
is in government.
Okay.
Because you are permanent and pensionable,
Sure.
you have access to information, you are able to cut deals, you are able to guarantee you a proper retirement. So that you find even people in business, they would rather leave their tenderpreneur business to join government. But I want to remind Kenyans, that's not how we build an economy. We build an economy by being engaged in economic activities, farming, trade, manufacturing, transport, ICT. You understand? We have to look at emerging areas of the economy that we can also venture into. Creative arts. Those are areas where you'll be able to grow your wealth as a person, as a county, as a nation. But you cannot create your wealth by all of you working for government. So we must have a problem. We must reflect on this problem. That everybody wants to join government. And that appetite for joining government is what has led us to where we are today. So that everybody who is elected, the first wish list they attend to is to tell his constituency, I have made 10 people be employed in government. I have 3 nominees that I've taken to this road agency, 5 nominees to NYS, to KWS. So you find an MP or a MCA, one of the successes they communicate at the end of their term is that I've gotten maybe 100 people to be employed in government. Now take that into 290 constituencies or 1,450 wards. How many jobs we end up creating every election cycle? That's why we are here.
That is, and in fact, engineer, as you put, as you look at it that way, because one of the things that maybe people really even have to ponder about is the need, therefore, for there to be a program that really helps people to know how is it that maybe we can diversify. Because even as we are talking about this ballooning wage bill, the number of people that are still unemployed is
very high.
Is quite high. For
me, I would I don't say it's wrong to work for government because you get the best experience in terms of in a work environment, but that job should not be permanent. People should be allowed to work in government on short-term contracts. Okay, you go work for 2 years and you leave and create an opportunity for the rest, so that you test that government. And then we make sure the government is very productive. You understand? Because it has the best experience, to be very honest. If you work in a government agency, for example, you get a wide scope of experience in terms of managing, if you're doing projects, if you're doing economic issues, if you're healthcare, you get a very wide exposure, which you cannot get in private sector.
Private sector, sure.
Because if you're employed, for example, in a media department, within the government, you will be exposed to how government communicates, how counties communicate, how they engage with other governments. The exposure is quite high. But then you leave that, you go to your private. You allow another young person to come and get the same experience.
So the problem is that...
But now the moment you enter, you are there permanent. Yes. You don't want to leave. And the other young person wants to also join. So what do we get up with? A bloated government, which is not even productive. You understand? I know a young man who was sent to Treasury to work as an intern, and he would tell me that even just to unlock a computer, these people could not do it. They were being told you must be digital, but the entire workforce in government could not even. When the computer hangs, they can't. They have to call him. You understand? So you find this one young person is dealing with so many old people, unfortunately, who are not able to handle some of the very skilled young people would have handled.
And this is in relation to what the president talked about yesterday, that we have quite a number of people who are in these government agencies and departments.
They don't, and they don't even some of them have the qualifications,
yes,
but they are not fit.
Yes, they're not fit.
You understand? They are not fit.
They've been overtaken by time.
Their time is not there. Their time should be somewhere else. Their time should be sitting in a board of a school, or a church, or a community organization. That's where they belong. But in terms of this clerical work, they don't need to be there. It should be done by young people who are tech savvy, who do things faster, who resolve issues faster. You understand? They're able to do not just one task in a day, they can do 10 tasks. That's how you increase productivity. By having the right person with the right skills on the right age in that office. But you don't put somebody who is about to retire in an area where, for example, you need to be alert for the whole day.
Sure.
You understand? You are supposed to do multitasking. Yes. That person cannot be able to do. So we need to agree that the way the government is the DNA of the government is wrong. Yes.
And when the situation is like that, definitely it also affects the services the government is actually giving, the production.
Exactly. Right now you find, we keep complaining about passports, but you may find that the biggest problem with those passports is a HR issue. It is not even the problem of the machines themselves. It is a HR issue. We have the wrong people. They may be qualified, yes, but they are not fit for that job because of the demands of that job at this time.
Sure, yes. Sure. And finally, Engineer, of course, Kenyans have been presented with this news, and the government has taken credit for it. We've seen the reduction of fuel prices. We've also even seen Kenya Piloting Company talking about the coming down of the tokens. These are some of the things that really Kenyans had grappled with for a very long time, and it took a huge toll on them. Are we saying the economy is now turning around and Kenyans can now feel what the government is doing?
There is a glimpse of hope somewhere. We need to give it more time to be able to know that it is for the long haul. But we must appreciate that it is on a positive direction. The economy has taken a positive trajectory, and we need to seize this opportunity and ride on it. If you have some investments to make, do them now, because the cost of doing business is low. If you wait for long, when the things may change, you will end up spending more than you have spent now. So we must appreciate.
But is it really as a result of what the government is doing,
or
external factors?
The question is it sustainable? It doesn't matter who has intervened at this moment.
Yes.
Is it sustainable? Because we don't work in an isolation.
Yes.
Our economy is a global economy. We produce things that we sell out there. And we also want people to come and invest here. So if there is so much money out there that wants to come to Kenya, it's not an issue of whether it is us or them who has done what.
Okay.
We are at the right time with the right fundamentals now. Take advantage of them.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
But what is important is that what are we doing to improve the ease of business in this country?
Okay.
That is what is important. What are we doing to make sure that if I come as an investor from outside or local, I'm finding it easy to do business. And that's what we need to look at. And I want to appreciate that the government is doing a lot in terms of easing the doing of business. For example, the visas from Africans to come to Kenya for free. That's a good thing. Actually, not Africa, for the whole world to come. Because people are now waking up and say, I want to go to Kenya. I don't have to plan 3 months or 4 months because of a visa. The way we plan when we are going to America. You just wake up with your money and you come. When that money comes here and is spent, it's good for us. So let us appreciate that there are some good things that are happening that are helping the economy to rebound. The strengthening of the Kenya shilling is good for us because now we can afford fuel, electricity has come down, and many other things are becoming affordable. Even you who wanted to buy something from outside, you can be able to do it now. So we need to be encouraged that there appears to be things that are getting right.
Because one thing, engineer and maybe Kenyans would want to follow and maybe take an issue with the government. Of course, we've had the leaders saying that the first 1 year when they were in government, they were sorting out the mess that has been. So when now you look at this situation changing like this, are we really confident? Are we giving an assurance to Kenyans that now, if it is fuel prices reducing, that is the streak? It will now be on a reduction chain. If it is the dollar, if it is the shilling against the dollar, we shall see it being now sustained. Or maybe Kenyans should be concerned that maybe after a few months again, things will now turn out again in the negative. And now we begin again to blame the external factors.
Let me ask Kenyans, what is it that you know that is making you get concerned? Those are the questions. Okay. Because when this government took over, we saw a rise in the cost of living, attributed to what government has said clearly is our huge debt and our unsustainable expenditure, both in terms of the budget. And the government has made it very clear. We need to pay our debts, but also we need to cut down on our costs of doing business. We also need to cut down on our expenditure. And it has made deliberate interventions to that end. And now you can see clearly the pronouncement of the government in terms of what it needs to do has started to bear fruit. Mm-hmm. So if the government is given room to continue doing what it is saying, then there is no doubt the economy will continue improving. But if you keep complaining, even when you see the fruits of what the government told you, if we do this, we'll get this, and you're still doubting, then what as a country do you want? I know in other countries, when the government says we are going in this direction, everybody joins and goes to that direction. So that we make sure that whatever the government has proposed in terms of public policy is followed up to, is implemented, and it becomes it bears the results that we all want to achieve. Because a good economy is good for everyone.
Right.
Yes. It's good for the politician because he will get re-elected, but also it's good for Kenyans because they'll have a good livelihood. And our cost of living will reduce. Yes. We'll be able to do business. Yes.
Wow, that's very, very nice. Engineer, maybe in a minute,
I just want to say thank you for hosting me, but I also want to call on to Kenyans that we need to stop being very pessimistic about everything and focus on what each one of us can do in these very good times we have. However temporary they may appear, take full advantage of them. Sure. You understand? Take advantage of the ease of the Kenya shilling, take advantage of the low cost of fuel, do as much as you can this time. Okay? If you are not sure it will be there for long, it's okay for you, but make the most out of what you have today. Don't wait for tomorrow. Yes. It is now, not tomorrow.
Wow. Engineer Crispus Odhimba, governance analyst, also a political analyst. We appreciate your time, your insights, and your perspectives on the state of affairs in the country.
Thank you so much.
Much pleasure. That is where we bring it to a close. Of course, Paul Kagi, you've had the perspectives of our guest, and I take it back to you. My name is Mangicho Mola.
All right, thank you so much, my colleague Mangi Chomola, together with our guest engineer Crispus Odhimba, for that very insightful, exclusive interview on the state of the nation. And I love the way Odhimba has just closed his show and his in sentiment that focus on what you can do. Focus on what you can do, especially this time when economy is a little bit shaky. And today they have dealt on the economic status of the nation, the health sector, and handling our debt and stability of our shilling. On behalf of the entire team of the Leadership Wednesday, till next week on Wednesday, same time and same hour, same place, my name is Paul Kagi. I wish you a successful day ahead.